One thing I personally wanted to say to you is, in listening to your solo music and then your inclination into Styx, what's beautiful, your vocal theatrics. It's so much fun to sing along with the songs. I mean, I love to try to hit the high notes and the low notes, and it's such a flowing thing. Today's music, unfortunately, doesn't really have that energy for me. The past, since 1990, there's really not been the outstanding music that I think that you've provided in the 80s and Styx has provided from the 70s as well.
Well, thanks for saying that. I would say that there is tremendous music around today, though, but you have to dig harder to find it. And I like that a lot of people do their own programming now.
It's not on radio. I guess what I should have said, that music is not on radio.
You've got to dig around. I mean, I remember having to dig around to find Radiohead in the 90s, and now they're a lot easier to find. And Muse, I think, have phenomenal, melodic content. Keane, I remember the first time I heard Keane in a record store. I'd never heard them on the radio.
But they have that 80s throwback, that feel. That's what it is.
And it kind of started with the Killers, if you think of it. They had that melodic content came back. Do you know, speaking of, this is John Sebastian from Love and Spoonful. I remember in the 90s, on that You Can Call Me Larry album, 93, he played on one song on one of my records, and I said, the problem I see with some of the music now, it's becoming less and less melodic, and I think melodies stick with people, and that's why people still sing Summer in the City. He took the other side of that argument at that time, and I wonder if he still would now. I think that melody transcends. I think it outlives everything, and I think that's part of why the Styx catalog is still so strong. And maybe a lot of to this day, people will go, "You're a strange animal," if I'm walking down the street. These Moonlight Desires, that's a higher one. But they tend to remember melodic content longer than just about anything else.
You grew up on a lot of 70s music, which is why you said that Styx was not a very big departure from you as a solo artist.
It wasn't, quite honestly. No, I mean, I loved Yes, and I loved Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Queen, and Styx were really the only band outside of the UK that were successful at doing progressive rock. So I always had a lot of admiration for them on that level alone.
What about Electric Light Orchestra or Jeff Lynne?
Of course, yeah, Jeff Lynne, yeah, absolutely. I loved El Dorado, one of my favorite records ever. I used to be able to recite the opening of that record perfectly. I can't right now.
Never.
The Unwoken Fool.
In dreams, no pain will kiss the brow.
There you go. There it is. Yeah.
Okay, and The Move. So you must have been a fan of The Move as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, The Move. The end of The Move and the beginning of Electric Light Orchestra. No, I like that stuff a lot. And early Elton John material, particularly when he had all the Paul Buckmaster string arrangements, etc., going along with the piano, and the band he had then, Dee Murray and Nigel Olsson, and some of these people that I loved so much, I've had a chance to record with a good number of them. And John Anderson from Yes recorded on Moonlight Desires, and Robert Fripp actually was on that Lawrence Gowan album. But also Jerry Marotta and Tony Levin, of course, were a huge influence, a huge factor in the records that I made, and they were from Peter Gabriel's band. And so I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of people that I admired so much in that era.
I'm going to throw some names at you because you did a lot of work in Ontario for the late 70s, mid 70s too, perhaps early 80s. Brian Vollmer of Helix.
Lovely guy. Actually, both of us were on cribs together in separate houses. Yeah. But that's the last time I saw him, other than on your show, actually just today. Helix, a fantastic band out of Kitchener, hard rocking guys.
He had told me once that you guys were at a cottage together in Muskoka or something.
Very likely.
Oh, very likely. You just don't remember that one.
No, you know what? It was probably a Key to Bala moment that we had together. And I do remember speaking to Brian on several occasions.
Okay, some little more underground artists. Nash the Slash.
of course, early FM, and then as you reminded me, he did rejoin for a little while there. I loved what I like about Nash is just his unique approach to things. Doing the one-man show. I did some of that myself. In the 90s, and he's kind of a forerunner of that, really. I don't think I'd ever seen anyone do a one-man show that wasn't a folk artist, prior to the Nash, so good on him.
Nash has one of the longest-running independent labels in Canadian history.
Really?
And he's actually, with his, and then DOA's Sudden Death Records as well, is second longest running.
Right.
And they both managed to make a living out of it for their entire life. I think there should be Gowan Records.
Right. Well, actually, right now I'm with... the Return of the Strange Animal is on a label, True North Linus, which was Jeff Kulovic bought True North, who have Gordon Lightfoot and all kinds of great heritage artists, and so that's the label that's distributing my stuff right now, or licensing my stuff. Yeah.
Another friend of the show is Fee Waybill, the Tubes. Now you've performed with the Tubes
several times. We've played with the Tubes. They actually once in Winnipeg. They did the show with us, and they opened up. I remember they opened up with Rawhide. They came out and it was Rawhide. Yeah, they came out cowboy hats, opened with Rawhide, and then went straight into She's a Beauty right after that. I thought it was. You never know what to expect from that band, but always they're fantastic. Actually, we did Alice Cooper's Christmas Pudding in Phoenix together one night, and they knocked me out that night. They were so good. Yeah.
Alan Parsons, he's another friend of ours.
Done a few shows with him. Last time we played together was in Houston, and I reminded him that Jerry Marotta, drummer from Peter Gabriel and who worked with me on Strange Animal and several other records, Jerry Marotta brought me into Abbey Road one night, and Alan Parsons was in studio too, and very welcoming. He allowed me to come into studio too, and I sat there while he was mixing and looking down at all the Beatle equipment, and I said, do you mind if I wander down there? And Alan Parsons is a big guy.
He's 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big man, and he said, I don't see you doing much harm down there, go ahead. And I went down and went over all the Beatle stuff, and played every Beatle song on every instrument I could get my hands on down there, and just spent a fantastic evening in Abbey Road. He had no memory of that when he did the show with us a couple of years ago, but I reminded him.
When you joined Styx, going back to Styx, there was another newer member in the band at the time, Glen Burtnik. Any thoughts on Glen?
Oh, Glen's a fantastic musician. He just is, and a great stage performer, and I really enjoyed the time that we had together. We worked on a studio album together with Styx called Cyclorama, and I was happy to make whatever contributions I could to the pieces that he brought in, and I really liked his musical approach to things very much.
Do you know what Glen's doing right now?
Actually, he did some ELO.
Yeah, he's in the orchestra, or ELO Part 2, formerly ELO Part 2. Yeah,
he does a bunch of things though. I mean, he can kind of do anything. So yeah, that wouldn't be a stretch.
Okay, so the future of Gowan, the future of Styx, the future of Lawrence Gowan.
Lawrence Gowan is going to remain in Styx for as long as they'll have him. Gowan is going to do more Return of the Strange Animal shows if time allows, and hopefully I'll get my hockey career back on track one of these days, but it's looking less and less likely.
Hey Lawrence, what's your favorite time signature?
Oh, that would definitely be 7/8. Yeah. Hey, you're from vinyl.